This is the More to Life Than Money podcast. Real people, real stories, real conversations about wealth and abundance with your host, J.W. Rayhans.
Welcome, everybody, to the More to Life Than Money podcast. You know, many times we get to hear powerful stories, empowering stories, inspiring stories. Today is no different. In fact, when you think about like the ultimate courageous comeback stories twice, that's what you're going to hear today. And so, Susan, I am so excited that you and I get a chance to visit and really get to share with people just kind of what you've had going on in your life, what's going on now. There's some exciting things happening now. There's been challenging things from the past. And I tell you what, this is going to be incredible.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I know. I'm excited too. And for all of you listening, I think early on, you're going to realize this really is probably, several minutes where you're going to want to be taking notes. You're going to want to capture what you hear. Some of the things that we talk about might even blow you away a little bit. And so as you're listening, just kind of get yourself mentally prepared. Just get yourself, in a position where you're ready to learn. You're ready to just digest what we're about to talk about. And so, Susan, even as, I was getting to know you a little bit, and even as I was reading some things about your background and really seeing the opportunity that you're in today, here's what I would like to ask is that we start with this.
Okay.
So I want you to imagine for a moment, okay? Just imagine that there's this young woman that walks up to you, okay? And you recognize her. You don't necessarily know who she is, but you recognize her, and you recognize her enough to go, there's some sort of like, there's a reason I want to open up to her. And she's approaching you. You're kind of like having one of these moments where you're seeing it coming. You know, there's a question coming. And here's what she asks you. She just looks at you. She says, "Susan, how do I get to be like you?" What would you share with her?
What would I share with her?
Yeah.
I would say to just learn to be self-aware. I mean, to understand that we're not the sum of our mistakes. We're not just the results of, our hardest times. I think that was hard for me to overcome for a little while. And to just recognize that like we're all on a journey. Like it's okay wherever you're starting. You can start from wherever you're at. You can build the life that you want. It's just little by little, one foot in front of the other. Build a good network of people that will believe in you and that will speak life into you and that will tell you that you're worth something if you don't feel that you are. So I think that's played a huge part in my life.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's so good. See, everybody, I told you, look at it right from the start. I hope you're writing some of that down. You know what you just reminded me of? I'm going to quote a good friend of yours.
Okay.
So you have a good friend, Carrie.
I do.
And she said something that just stuck with me. And you just reference it. And we're all on a journey.
Yeah.
No matter where, here's what Carrie said. No matter where you're at in your journey, you're a gift to someone.
That's right. Absolutely.
And
exactly.
that just, it came right back to mind as soon as you were sharing what you would share with this young woman that is asking, like, how do I become you? How do I be like you? Right? And you mentioned, hardships, and you mentioned you're not the sum of your previous life or your previous circumstances. Help us understand, what are some of those previous circumstances for you? What have you had to overcome? And here's why I'm asking you this, though, Susan. I'm asking it in a very purposeful way because I want everyone to kind of have a foundation. I want everyone to have a starting point, if you will, or a rebuilding point that they can see in you, because a lot of what I'm going to ask has more to do with what's happened since, or what did you learn, or how did it help shape you, or what did it give you appreciation for? But I want to give people something to go off of. So these may or may not be things that you've shared before. My hope is you and I can become comfortable enough really, really fast that you're willing to share some of this with people. So when you were envisioning this interaction with the young woman that I described, and you mentioned like you're not the sum of your previous hardships, what were you thinking about in that moment? Like, what have been some of those previous hardships for you, or previous decisions that you made in your life that are not who you are today?
That's pretty much sums up who I am. It was a lot of missteps in my life. And by the time I was 18 years old, I had 3 kids. And I was living in the projects in Ohio since I was 16. I've been on my own since I was 16. Not with a lot of guidance growing up or a lot of stability or structure or anyone doing the things that I was just explaining that I would say to her is to believe in yourself and surround yourself with people that'll speak life into you, because it's really important, the people that you have around you. I had a lot of people that were living in the same chaos that I was living in the same mindset that was forming in myself that, I'm a failure. I've already messed this up. I've already dropped out of high school. How am I supposed to get myself out of this situation? I've then got myself into an abusive relationship that was really just making it just more than anything solidifying this life that was forming that I was just too young to understand how to get myself out of. Yeah. And so without having someone saying, Susan, you're so much more than this, you can do so much more than this, I had to find that within myself. And that was really hard to do after being broken down so much by other people in my life that were supposed to love me or protect me or take care of me. And so without having that, it's very hard to pick yourself up out of those kind of situations. And now I have these 3 little girls that are looking to me, and I don't want to carry this on for them. I don't want this to be their life. And it is becoming that, And so really finding myself completely alone without anybody, and then having to go into a program myself. I went into a shelter when I was 20 years old with my 3 daughters because I didn't have any other options. And I was really scared, and I was getting out of that abusive relationship that I was telling you about. I had to listen to the people that were around me, and thank God that people came along and saw things in me. They saw that I was very smart. I really am very driven and intelligent and wanted to finish school and had so many aspirations and dreams for myself. And I didn't know exactly where I wanted to end up, but I knew it wasn't there. Right. And so, I went and got my GED and started going to college and learning. I didn't even have a driver's license at that time. Got a driver's license, started, working at night and then going to school during the day and making sure my kids were going to school and just kind of finding my footing in life and getting grounded in that way. And education to me became a really vehicle out of poverty. I could realize that the more skill I had or education I had, the more opportunities that would open, the more doors that would become open. And so that's we interweaved in and out of my life is pursuing education or learning a skill or, figuring out how do I get to that next step? What do I need to do? Who do I need to meet? What do I need to do that? So at that time, it was just putting one foot in front of the other, going to school, getting my kids in school, making sure that we're stable. And that was for quite a few years. I ended up moving to West Virginia and I just built a really good life for me and my kids for a while, and was successful in that time in my life until I was about 30. And can
I ask you something about that? And believe me, I'm going to come right back to this point.
Okay.
So I want to highlight a few things, actually unpack a few things that you've already shared up to this point, because this takes us up to, it sounds like, right about where you're 30. And you mentioned you were experiencing some success. What did success look like in that moment? Like, so what is success at that time? You still have 3 little girls that you've been raising, since you were 16. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, we've made it, right? Yeah. So what was
And I had my son during that time. So it was my daughters and my son.
Yeah.
Success at that time looks very different than what it looked like now. But success then was, I don't need food stamps. I don't need government assistance to pay my rent. I'm taking care of us. I have paying for our health insurance. It's on me. I was a single mom and I can take care of not only us, but someone else. My measure of success is that I have enough for me and my family and someone else. Okay. Like, can I help someone else? I'm very big on, I'm very generous. It means something to me that I am not, that I'm capable of helping someone else, whatever that looks like. Yeah. It just builds value for me. And so at that time I was I was very involved in my church at the time, giving back to the youth. I really was, since I was a young mom, I really gravitated toward young moms and mentoring them and just letting them know, like, they're going to be a good mom and like figuring out what that is. And so that was a big part of my life back then. Yeah. And just having a good community of people around me so that my kids had examples of what life could look like, especially my oldest daughter. She's very driven. She really liked to be around people that had more influence. Sometimes it made her kind of regret that she had to come home to our life because we didn't necessarily have what a lot of her friends had.
Yep.
But I wanted her to be exposed to those things.
That is good exposure.
And she's done very well in her life. And I do believe that exposing her to those kind of things, knowing it was important to her, really helped her in her life. And so,
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing what success looked like, because, many of our listeners, they're at various stages in their life. And there could be somebody listening that they're kind of right back in that whole survival mode that you described of, I don't even know like where we're going to stay or where we're going to live or how we're going to provide. And that doesn't necessarily only happen with people that are in their teens or early 20s. That can happen at other stages of life too, where it's like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make it? Where are we going to live? And so that's why I wanted us to unpack that a little bit, is because that's a very real stage for people. And sometimes it repeats. And so I'm just envisioning, you as a single mom, very young, with 3 young girls and then a son, and really having to figure out, like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And then, like you mentioned, you gave us your definition of success. It was like, this was what I described success as. It was, I could provide for us, you and your immediate family, your kids, and someone else. And that was success. And you talked about how you were involved in your community, involved in your church, and you even started helping other people, other single moms or single parents. And there, again, you're kind of giving us this view that says, look, there were moments even I was trying to survive, and yet I was still looking for ways that I could help someone else.
Yeah.
And that is a very real practice. It's a very real success habit. It's a very real, I guess, just genuine way of getting to another level in life. And sometimes I think people have this presumption that, well, I'll start giving when I can. Yes. I'll start giving, and I'm not just talking about financial. I'm just talking like
time,
you talk about
resources,
your church and community,
yes,
or just your time or pouring into someone or mentoring them, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I'll get there when I feel like I'm going to be a good mentor. I'll get there when I feel like I have extra time. I'll get there. I'll do that when, X, when I achieve this. But the reality is, and I think you've experienced this just with some of the things that you've already shared, is as you experience more success, however you define that, then there are certain habits that are going to continue coming out. And if that habit there is to give, then it'll just get bigger.
Yeah.
It'll just be with more people or just in a more impactful way. So that gets us to age 30. Okay.
Plus, and you just helped me even remember something about myself.
Please.
Like, I know what it's like to be stuck in those situations, and I hated it. I hated it when I felt stuck in that situation that I was in when I was living in the projects and going through all of that. It was always important to me to inspire people to come out of that. Like, you don't have to stay stuck this way. This isn't true. It doesn't mean we have to stay here. We have to continue to live like this. So I've always wanted to encourage people to look at life as there's all these possibilities. Let's go figure it out. So
there you go.
That has always been an important part of who I am. It makes me feel important, or like I have value. Like I have this lived experience and I can come out of it. Maybe I've only come out of it this far, but I don't want to come out of it alone. Like I want other people to come out of that as well. It's very important to me.
What an outstanding quality in you.
Thank
it
you
really
very
is.
much.
It really
Thank
is.
you.
Like, let's all do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And even just the way you described, life is full of possibilities, and we have to watch for those. We have to pay attention to those. We have to look for them. We have to create them.
Yeah.
But it is full of possibilities.
Yeah.
All right. So now
30 is where it all crashes down, though, unfortunately for me. I don't think I dealt with a lot of my own childhood trauma and things that I had gone through, and some of the things that I just described. I was just trying so hard to get me and my kids stable. So even success also looks as like our home is safe, and it's safe to come home, and my kids feel loved, and we have what we need. That was much more than what I had grown up with, and I was giving that to them for a while. But when I was 30, I'm in recovery. I have 10 years sober. I started to drink again. I can't drink. When I drink, I do not show up that way for my kids or for myself or for my community. Those things go by the wayside.
Okay.
I just can't balance all of that. I fall apart. And so I did. And then for 6 years, I really hurt my kids. I left them. I found myself in an addiction, and I lost everything. Mostly my respect for myself, my sense of purpose, my fact, of all the things I'll ever be successful at, the only thing that really, really matters in my life is that I was successful at being a mom. And so when you fail at that, it's really hard for me to feel like I can build a life after failing my children. Yeah. So I really spend a lot of time helping people understand that we are not the sum of our mistakes. That's probably why I led with that when you asked me that question, because I had to get that. So I got sober in 2016. I had the clothes on my back. I had just caused a lot of chaos and destruction and a lot of turmoil and a lot of pain. So when I got sober, one of the reasons that I'm friends with Carrie is because I didn't know where to start to rebuild my life. How do you rebuild your life when you have nothing and not less than nothing? You have I've lost everything that matters to me. I've hurt everyone that I love. I don't know where to start over again. And so I just... when I was getting out of treatment, I asked them, can I start bringing church back into here? And they said, sure, if you even come back. I'm barely sober and they don't know what to expect. But I've been, every Sunday, I go into Crossroads and I take a meeting in there. I've been doing this for the last 10 years because it was important for me. The more I told people that I will meet you right where you're at, you can do this, you can stay sober. If I give them hope, then maybe I'll believe it myself.
Sure.
And then I would see my son once a week on Wednesdays. And I would just be like, if I can just make it from Sunday to Wednesday and Wednesday to Sunday, you got to start somewhere, right? So that's all really that I could do.
It down.
Yeah. And then it was like, well, how do I get myself back on my feet? I haven't worked for 6 years. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And so I saw that people's addresses were faded on the curbs. And so I went and started knocking on people's doors and painting address, and I called it Christian Curbsiders. And to go back to the point that you made earlier, if every $10 that I would earn, I would put $1 in another pocket and I would give it to somebody on the streets. And it was just my way of just saying, thank you that I've been doing that ever since in some form or fashion. Wow. And so, I've been doing that meeting now for the last 10 years. At a year sober, I was doing all of the things that I needed to do. I got a job in higher education. I just started climbing that corporate ladder. I went back to school, finished my bachelor's, finished my master's degree, was being very successful in my career. And then I was running 6 campuses in student retention and just building different partnerships with different organizations here. And that meeting is still something I do every Sunday because it's so important to me. Like, it's just so amazing. I get to go in and tell people, like, you can start over right here. I promise. Like, it doesn't matter what it's looked like up until this point. You can start from right here. You're not late. You didn't miss it. If there's another day, then there's another opportunity. Just take it. Let's see what we can do with it. So
there's so much hope in that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Can you see how jazzed you're getting right now?
I am.
See, I told you all. You gotta latch on to this. Yeah. There's so much that you shared there that is so much more than just hope. And you're describing the moments. You're describing where you had to start rebuilding. You had to start making commitments. You had to fulfill those commitments to yourself before you could do it for other people because you'd lost all that. You lost that trust. You lost those relationships. And the first one you had to start rebuilding with was you.
Yeah.
And it meant breaking it down a day at a time.
Yep.
And it meant still serving other people. And that in itself had embedded accountability. Like, how are you going to help others show them the way if you're not leading the way?
Right.
And whether that's through that group or just finding a way to start, producing some income or just really giving yourself opportunities. There's a lot that's precious in what you just described, I think, for many people. And the fact that you continue to do that today says a lot. And I cannot wait for this part of the conversation because now I'm going to let you share what is it you actually get to do today.
It's pretty amazing.
So, here's why I'm asking this. And for all of you, I am setting you up. I'm absolutely setting you up for you to hear all this background before now you get to hear what Susan's up to today. Because here's what I think it's going to do for someone, Susan, or for probably many people listening, is not only is it going to give them hope, I think it's also going to look at you and go, you know what? Susan is special. I also think if she can do it, I can do it. Because you've been willing to be so honest with us. And you've been willing to be honest with us about, we were on food stamps. Yeah, we didn't have a place to live. Yeah, I finally got my family to a place where we were safe and I had created the things that I said I wanted to create. And you know what? And then I blew it up. Yep. And here I go again, and rebuilding from even less than what I had before, because now what was precious, what was valuable to me, I lost that. Yeah. And here's what I've done since. And
I would say the driving force too. And I think about it. I think like, why have I gotten to where I'm at when we talk about where I'm at professionally? Like the driving force was I failed my kids in a way I never wanted to. I just want them to be proud of me. I want them to say, that's my mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Regardless of all of the things that happened in the past, I want them to look and say, if my mom can do that, so can I. Yeah. If she can overcome the things that she's overcome, so can I. I want them to look and say, like, to be proud of me. That drives me inside. And it's probably what matters the most out of all of the other things that happen is that my kids can say, yes, this part of our life, my mom wasn't there and she let us down, but that's not who she is anymore. And it's just the fuel behind how I try to show up and how I try to live and why I do the things that I do today.
Yeah. So okay, everybody, I'm giving you an action right now. Figure out what your driving force is. Yeah. And that can change over time. But figure out where your driving force is. Really take the time to invest and figure out and reflect and dig in to what your overall core deep driving force is. Because Susan, that's what you just shared with us. It was that you wanted to become a mom that your kids were proud of again.
Yeah, a person of integrity that they can trust and respect and look up to, and that's what they deserve. And it's the least that I could do. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, what are you doing today?
All right, so I've tried to keep these two things separate in my life. I've tried to keep these things that I want to do for people and encourage them, inspire them, show up for them. I joined the board for The Worker a couple of years ago. That's how I know Carrie. And then I have my professional life, this life that's just unfolding, before me and just working hard and being grateful to be there and all of those things. Well, then I was approached about an opportunity to join an organization that's it's called Chrysalis. It's a domestic violence organization, to be their CEO. And I'm like, all the things that they need and are looking for and all the things that I've been doing for the last 10 years professionally just aligned so perfectly. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is such an opportunity to bring all the things that matter to me, my passion, my lived experience, the trials that I've gone through, the suffering I've seen in people that I care about and I love. How can I help break these cycles? How can I bring my passion, my drive, my business acumen? I wasn't looking for this. It just kind of happened on, how great things do.
Yes.
I'm a firm believer that, God will open the door. I'm responsible for who's standing there when they do, like the work I have to put in to be who I want to be when that door opens. It just worked out so beautifully. And it's been since December. It's been amazing getting to know lots of different people in our organization and what drives, Chrysalis and our programs. It's just been an amazing experience these last few months. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and even what you highlighted there, you highlighted some scripture for us, is when you're entrusted with small things and you do great things with those small things, I'm going to entrust you with more. And here you are, you're being entrusted with a lot.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. And so how exciting for you to be in this time period. I want to ask you about something that you mentioned there is prior to this, there were these two, I'm going to call them two lives. There was two lives you were trying to keep separate. Why? Why at that point were you saying, you know what, I want to keep these two things separate? Because I'm going to come back to that here in a moment. But I want everybody to capture that moment of, this part of my life is over here, this part of my life is over here. And here's why I'm wanting you to kind of dig into that a little bit, is because I do think there's a lot of people that can relate to that, where they're trying to keep their work life over here and they're trying to keep their personal life over here, or they're trying to keep, their personal relationships over here, and then they're trying to keep their giving and contribution over here, or the ways that they serve over here. And so why did you have that belief before? And now has it changed?
So I think for me personally, I just didn't want to misconstrue my motives. When I show up in a volunteer way or to help an organization, it's purely for the reason that I really want to be there. I want to help. I want it to be because it's out of my passion, out of my heart, and that there's no other reason behind it. So I think that's why I was kind of separating those. Makes sense. I've also went to Kenya, Africa, started a ministry out there trying to help people get sober. And I love that. I just want to do that and see how I can help and see how I can help in all of these other spaces. And then I'm learning and growing in this other space, and it just didn't come together like this in any other way than before. But yeah, I think it's mostly because I just didn't want my motives to be misconstrued, or for my passions to then be tied to what I do for a living, and then that I just didn't know how that would affect me or what that would do. You know what I mean? So it just aligned perfectly for this. I don't know if that makes sense the way I'm saying it.
It does. And as you mentioned, I mean, sometimes we don't always understand why our past has been the way that it is in those moments. But we do sometimes have these moments in life where a realization comes and we go, now I understand.
Yeah.
Now I understand
what it was all
why
for.
I've gone through what I've gone through. Now I understand why there's aspects of my past that were the way that they were. And it's because now all of a sudden there's this alignment. And in your case, it's an alignment that can create just a significant impact for so many people and people that you know you can relate to and that they can relate to you.
Yeah.
And that is exciting.
Yeah. My biggest goal is to make sure that any client that engages with Chrysalis leaves with the tools and empowerment they need to have to know that they are somebody, they do matter, they can go build a life that they want. It doesn't matter what's happened up to this point. Here's the resources that we can provide for you. You know, like it's just so important to me that any client that engages with us at Chrysalis knows that they matter to us. They're not just a number. They're not just a client. So really understanding like our structure of how we do everything at Chrysalis. It's a wonderful organization. It's been in the Valley for 40 years. So what an honor to take on something so precious, so wonderful in our community. Meeting lots of people that help me make sure that I'm being very successful with that and a good steward of that. So I'm just really excited.
Yeah. It shows in every part of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I know some of you that are listening, you're wondering, okay, so tell us about your kids.
Yeah.
You know, give us an update. Where are we at as far as you and your kids? And let me start it this way, if you don't mind, Susan.
Yeah.
Let me start it this way and just say, and you don't have to give their names if you don't want to.
Sure.
I'll leave that up to you.
Okay.
You could say, you know, daughter number 1, 2, 3, and your son, or however you want to do it. If you want to give their names, I'm sure that will be totally fine too.
Okay.
Here's where I'd like to start though. Share with us, like let's say they were sitting here next to you and I. Okay, they're in the room. They're right next to you. They're sitting right across from you. You have the opportunity to look them right in the eyes, and you want to just share with each of them individually the great things you see in them.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. You want me to do that? You want me to share with them? Okay. Well, my oldest daughter, Christine, she is a fighter. She is somebody that was just determined since the day that she's been here to make something of herself, and no obstacle, no trial, no hardship is going to stop her. I'm very proud of her. She's done amazing. She joined the military right out of high school and she's built a great, went to Vanderbilt, went to an Ivy League school. She didn't have a lot of people behind her, like same that I had when I was a kid. And she's done wonderful things. I'm just so inspired by her. She's more my hero than I could ever be hers. She's got a great head on her shoulders and just a very strong person. So very proud of her. And my daughter, Daisha, I would like her to know how much I really love her and that I know that life's not easy right now. Me and my husband are taking care of her 10-year-old daughter. She lives with us. And so that we're happy to do that. We're happy to be here for her in this season in her life and this moment and what she's going through. And it's completely okay. She's going to get through this and it's going to be okay. My daughter, Chelsea, she is me times 100. And so, yes. And so, yeah, she's so full of life and passion and she's just young and she's just going to figure some things out. And I just love her so very much and her spirit. Yeah. And yeah, she's got a lot of goals and things that she wants to achieve. And yeah, I'm definitely right here as her cheerleader, championing her on. And my son, I would like him to stop growing up. He's already 21. He's my baby. And yeah, now he wants to be a grown up and out here living his own life and making his own decisions. And I couldn't be more proud of him. He's an HVAC and, just moved out and is just figuring out life. But he's got such a warm heart about him. And I just know that life is just... I just want everything in this whole world for all four of them. And that they're just great kids.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm surprised I didn't cry, but I was just trying to hold it together.
You did outstanding. Even if you would have cried, that would have been okay. We would have walked through it together. Okay. We would have made it through. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. And my hope is that that's going to inspire someone else. It's going to inspire another parent to do that with their kids. Yeah. For any of you, you noticed that didn't take more than 30 or 60 seconds. Yeah. And sometimes, life can get so busy and we get wrapped up in all the stuff that's going on that we don't always slow down enough to just even let our own kids know what we see in them, what we're proud of. And as you mentioned, that's something that is important to you that you get to do with other people. Yeah. And so I appreciate you taking the opportunity to just do that real quick. I
appreciate that. When I send this to them, I love that.
I know.
Thank you.
And so any of you, just realize it doesn't take a lot of time. Sometimes it just takes a moment and, even just saying, I just want to share some things with you. Yeah. And then you get to tell them. Yeah. So my hope is a lot of people.
Luckily, my son Devin and I, me and all my kids, we talk often, and we're really close now. And so that's taken some years. It's had its ups and downs, but we're in a really great place. So
understandably.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you mentioning that. That was one of the things that I was going to ask to say, give us an update on how your relationship is with your kids. And so it sounds like it's going good.
Yes. Very good.
Outstanding. Yes. I want to ask you, just something that I think may turn into a greater conversation.
Sure.
So I want to start with this. And this actually is something that we do ask many of our guests. And I think you'll see why. You have a background that I think gives you a perspective that not all of us get blessed with. Not all of us get the gift of struggling the way that you've struggled. And I mean, I can personally relate to some of the things that you're sharing in terms of, like, when you talk about food stamps and, you know, moving around and not always having the best places to live. I certainly can't relate to all pieces of your story, but I understand what it means to struggle.
Sure.
And when you think about that, and now if I ask you, what's important about money to you? What would you say? What's important about money to you?
Great question. You know, I continue to new doors open, new opportunities. My life has continued to change. But I want to make sure I always hold on to my principles of what matters, and that's giving. You know, being a good steward, you know, I want to make sure that I'm understanding, like, I mean, I when you grow up without a lot, you don't really know what to do when you do get a little bit more than
It's
that.
very true.
And so I just want to be a good steward, I guess would be the way I would say. I don't want to get caught up in chasing the next fashion or this, because it's such a never ending pursuit. And I found myself doing that at different times. And then I you know, scale back. Me and my husband have talked too. We've like, do we want to buy another house and we can move into a nicer house in a nicer neighborhood? We might, because my granddaughter lives with us. And if it gives her access to better education, then that needs to be the reason. Other than that, why become house poor when we can instead travel or do things in our community that we want to do, or some things that I want to do in Kenya or other places that may come about? I want to always have the freedom to be able to do things that mean something to me and to my family. So when my kids need help, I want to be able to do that, because I didn't spend all my money on a mortgage that, you know, to just chase this next thing. So just being I don't know, patient with money, being a good steward with money, and not letting it be the decision maker. And like taking this role, it was actually kind of a little bit of a step back, but it's more in line with my passion and my heart. And that means more to me than money. So I just don't want money to have its wrong place in my heart or in my life.
Yeah. Well, and even just the way that you shared that, you're aligning these to values. You're aligning these to values that are important to you and saying, okay, does this give us the opportunity for that? Even in briefly mentioning, you know, if we are going to buy a different house, we're not buying it just to buy a different house or to have a bigger house or for status. We're buying it because we want our granddaughter to be in a great community with great education.
Yes,
and you mentioned how important education is to you earlier on.
Yes.
That was one of your ways of progressing and changing life and improving life was through education. By the way, congratulations. We didn't mention this earlier.
Thank you.
But whether people know or not, you pursued your bachelor's and your master's in your 40s.
Yes.
And with all the other responsibilities it wasn't about the age of being in your 40s. It was all the other responsibilities that come along with that. Yeah. So I just want to say congratulations. I saw that. I'm like, that's incredible. And so there again, it's an example of, hey, we sometimes have this perception. We sometimes have this view that certain things only happen at certain points in life. Like, generally speaking, a lot of people think, oh, well, if I'm going to get a degree, I'm probably going to do it when I'm in my 20s.
Sure.
My late teens, my early 20s. Okay, that doesn't always have to be the case. That isn't always the path that life goes on. Yeah. And is it going to be tough? Am I have to work at it? Is it going to be a little more challenging? Maybe. Am I going to look different than most of the other people in my classes? Yeah, probably. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. You have some life things to offer and to bring even in those settings. Yeah. And so I think there again, you provide an example for us to say, hey, there are things that you can do when you're ready to do them, when you make the decision to do them. Yeah. And one other thing you mentioned earlier on is make sure you put good people in your life.
Yes, very important.
Yeah. And so thanks for even sharing how you align your decisions or even financial decisions more to values now than necessarily the next thing.
I think even with my education, it was more about dignity for myself, because I did drop out of high school when I was younger. And that was something that I carried shame about, because I had the potential. It doesn't mean that everyone has to go to school or has to get a degree to be able to, get to where they want to be. But for me, it was important. It was an important sense of, you know what, I made these missteps in my life. I don't have the experience that other people have. I need to understand if I want to be in management and leadership and business, that I need to have some education behind that, because maybe I didn't work in this for 20 years. I'm coming into it a little bit later, but I want to be good at it. I want to excel at it. I want to bring the best of myself. I need to learn. If I don't learn, how am I going to be successful? And I'm not going to be successful if I don't invest something in myself. And so it was more of this investment in myself, this sense of dignity that it doesn't matter that I dropped out of high school. I'm now 46 years old and I have a master's degree. I figured it out, you know what I mean? And so it just adds this sense of worth that wasn't there, if that makes sense. Not that I have to tie it to an education. It's just an overcoming something that was a failure in my life, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and it's again, it goes back. You said, for me, this is what I needed to do. That for me, this is something I knew would help build that self-worth and that confidence. And so there again, you're not saying, hey, everyone has to do it this way. What you're saying is discover what those are for you.
Yes.
And again, go back to that. You know, those of you that are listening and watching, go back. And in fact, Susan, I actually hope you go back and watch this last little segment right here, because you basically gave yourself this recipe of what it was that it took for you in that particular moment.
Yeah.
And then you've applied it in different ways. And you know, you made me recognize something. I don't know why I haven't recognized this before, but you said, you know, and I'm 46 with a master's degree. Well, guess what? The person that got their master's degree at 25, they're still also going to be 46 with a master's degree
That's
someday.
true. Exactly.
You know, they may have gotten it 20 years before that, but you're both 46 with a master's degree.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't ever hear someone say, oh, I've had a master's degree for 20 years.
Right.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. But they'll say, I have a master's degree.
Yeah. And you know what? And sometimes, be honest with you, be transparent. Sometimes I still feel like that girl that dropped out of high school.
Right.
And so I have to remember that I'm not. You know what I mean? Sometimes I still see myself with those insecurities. They come out sometimes.
Yeah.
Then I have to remember, no, I've taken steps to improve myself or to better myself or to learn or to I guess the word is like belong in the room or, you know, that imposter syndrome. Because of my lived experience and some of my things, sometimes I don't feel like I belong in the room. But then I just remind myself, I just want to be here to help.
Yes.
And I just want to be here to learn. And so what I don't know, I'm willing to learn. And however I can help, that's why I'm here. So if I center myself back that way, then I'm okay that maybe I wouldn't have been in this room or figured this out. So,
but I am now.
I am now. So and I'm going to make the best of it, man. I'm going to make the very best of it.
Thank you for acknowledging that, because that is also something I know is very common with people is, you know, we do have these parts of us that we let resurface again and again, even if they're not who we are anymore, even if it's not a part of our life anymore, but we let them resurface.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're describing is, you know, sometimes you're sitting there going, I'm still that girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, wait a second. No, actually, I'm not that girl anymore. Yeah. I've had too much growth. I've had too much I've overcome. I've had too much effort I've put in. I'm not that girl.
That's right.
And here's where I'm about to step on some toes. Okay, you ready? And
Let's do it.
I'm probably going to upset a few people. And for anyone on our team, if that means you got to respond to some DMs because of what I'm about to say, I'm going to address this whole imposter.
I'm getting nervous.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to address this whole imposter syndrome thing. Okay, here's my take on imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Because this has become a very common phrase.
Sure.
Of imposter syndrome. So I'll tell you what, I'll pose it a question. Maybe it'll lighten the feedback. Are any of us really an imposter if we show up authentically?
Right.
I don't think we are. In imposter syndrome, when people talk about it, most of the time, it's almost like they're acknowledging the previous person they were and saying, I'm not able to be in this room, or I'm not able to do this because I'm still that. Okay. You're not an imposter.
Yeah.
If you show up authentically.
You're
not an imposter if you're living out your values. And so there again, that's where we're probably going to say, sorry, Derek, sorry, Naya, you know, and anyone else has to deal with that. But you're
I think
authentic.
it really helps me when I hear other people, though, say they feel the same way to some extent, like
That's
to be
what I'm talking
vulnerable.
about. Yeah.
And then that says, oh, you know, we're all just here. We're all just human. We're all just trying to be at our best. We're all trying to figure out the room or the situation or the job or the family or the whatever the dynamic is. And I will sometimes perceive it as though everyone else has figured it out and I'm just still trying to catch up. And that's not the case.
That's what's so good.
And so,
that is what's so good, is to be reminded that, hey, we're all figuring it out. None of us have it all together. It's actually why we need each other.
Yes.
It's actually why we need to pour into one another. And even with this role as CEO, that's something that you're doing, right? You're pouring into others because you also realize you don't have all the answers. You don't have all the strategy. You don't have all the resources.
Yeah.
We have to do this together, especially when you're pursuing something like what you're pursuing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let that set us up for the next question that I'm going to ask, which is, you know, these words, wealth and abundance.
Okay.
okay, they have a lot of different meaning to different people. And sometimes even we go straight to something when we hear the word wealth or we hear the word abundance. You touched on it a little bit earlier with a view that you have in terms of opportunities and possibilities. But if someone just asked you, and actually I'm going to paint the picture this way. So let's just say that you've been asked to speak, okay? And you've been asked to speak in a group full of other CEOs, okay? These are high achieving, high earning, high performance, high energy. Seems like they have got it all together, group of CEOs, but you've been the one to be asked to speak. And you're wanting to really impart on them a perspective of wealth and abundance that comes from who you are. What would you share with them? What is wealth and abundance to you?
And I'm in a room with people that probably have a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I'm the new kid in town. I'm picturing and putting myself in this room.
Please.
I guess I would ask, when we come to the end of our life, what are we going to be the most proud of? What is going to mean the most to us? That's what makes us the wealthiest. We'll all have achieved all of these different things and made this impact and made this difference. But what at the end of it's going to make you feel like I did what I was supposed to do?
Yeah.
To me, that's what's wealth. Now, of course, the more resources we have and the more opportunity we have and the more stability we have, the more that we can provide for our families and the people that we love. And there is a safety that comes with having money. All of that can be gone just like this. You know what I mean? So what's left afterwards?
Yeah.
What was of value? When I know as this time sitting in this CEO role, if clients' lives are really impacted, let's say everything else just doesn't work out, well, I'll know I did something that will last longer than myself, longer than the paycheck or the money. So I guess something from that lens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So is that for you what you would want it to look like at the end of your life, whenever that comes?
Yeah, I would like to have made an impact bigger in a way that's bigger than myself. Even like the reason that I went to Kenya the first time is to get a different worldview, because I had grown up here and I had in our lens, I grew up poor and I grew up without much. But when I went to Kenya the first time, I was faced with a few truths. Like my hardest day, that if you would have asked me what was one of my hardest days, it was when we didn't have enough and I had to boil water to get my kids a bath when they were younger. That was a very hard day. It was very miserable for me. I felt very in lack, if you will. But then when I went to Kenya and I'm meeting these different families, they will never have access to anything like that. Yeah. They've never had a hot bath. They don't know that. I mean, that's just very different. And I started to realize, it just started to change my worldview in certain ways. But there was a sense of community that was there and support for one another. And can I share one story of something that happened when I was there?
I'm really hoping that you will.
Okay.
Actually, yes.
So what happened is I just went there because I was more so like, I just went out of like the American version of like my faith. Like I was more for my own self. I wasn't going there. I was on it with a mission trip with the group, but it was more for my own self. I just wanted to see things differently. Yeah. And so, and I got more than I could ask for. So we were at this kid's school, and then this group took us out to meet people in this village in Kenya. And we went to this lady's house, and her name was, thank you. Her name was Anita, and she lived in this little hut, and she had, nothing. It was in the middle of nowhere. And the lady Millie, who's a friend of mine now that I started this ministry with as a result of this moment.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, she was translating for me and translating for us. And this woman's husband would leave for long periods of time, and he would drink, and he would come back, and he may or may not have food for them. And it wrecked me. Like I could barely keep my composure. I went and got in the van, and I just completely had a meltdown because I'm like, I had a chance to leave. This was long before I knew anything about Chrysalis was coming down. This was a couple of years ago. And I was like, I had opportunities to leave. One of my daughters was in a situation that she wouldn't get out of. And I was like, she could leave any time that she wants, and she just won't. She wasn't leaving. And this will probably make me cry. But I just realized that this woman doesn't. There's no one to call. There's no resource. There's no their economy system can't give them a way out like I had access to here. And it shifted something inside of me. Like I stayed because something was broken inside of me. I stayed because there was something else going on that's more than just having access to resources. Like this woman would do anything to get out of this situation, and she can't. Where sometimes we stay in situations long when we can, if that makes sense. And that was hard for me. I was really wrestling with that. And so since then I became, I really talked a lot with Millie to try to understand their community and this woman and like, what does she have access to and how can she help? I was ready to take her home with me if I could, and that's not how it works. But so anyway, I went back by myself, and my husband, everyone told me not to because it's like, but I told you how I've lived my life.
That's
I just, whatever, man.
Yeah.
I went back by myself. I was treated like an American when I was there. And I was like, no, I want to have a real experience. I just want to go back. And I stayed with her. I lived in the middle of nowhere for 2 weeks. Wow. I went and spent some time with that lady, Anita, and just got to know her a little bit. And I realized that alcoholism there is a really big problem. And okay, well, I can't fix all of the problems, but I know something about that. And so we started the ministry that I have here is called the Other Side Ministry, where I take meetings into Crossroads. And I said, well, let's start it over here. She's gotten it off the ground there and goes into the slums and help people get sober from alcohol. And it's just been a whole experience. But so whenever this whole situation came out with Chrysalis, it was such a reminder of that moment. I couldn't help that woman to the extent that I would like to, but there's a lot of help here. Yeah. There's a lot of resources to be able to help people here. And it's more than just providing the shelter or the clinical team or we have a mobile victims advocate unit that'll go to court with people. Those are all very necessary, all wonderful, amazing things. But if we can empower people while they're with us, if we can let them know like that they are valued and that they are worth love and they are worth being safe, and like how do you reach people to get them to want to not go back to a dangerous situation? It's there's no one answer. There's no easy answer, unfortunately, but it's definitely by engaging with it and showing up for it. And so that is why I accepted the position at Chrysalis, remembering that moment. Yes. And that is when I felt like, this was all meant to happen.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. You went on an outstanding riff. Like we're done. That's it. Conversation over. That's where I want to leave people with that. I want you to have the opportunity to leave people with that, because that, I call it a riff that you just went on, right? That was so personal to you. It was so convicting to you that you made something happen. You took a risk. You went out there for 2 weeks. You got to know her. You got to know the community. You said, we can do something about this. And you talked about the way that you empower people beyond the resources. So that's where we're finishing.
Thank you.
My goodness, Susan, this has been outstanding. I am so grateful that you have been open with us. I'm so grateful for you being willing to share your story and the details. Give us a little insight into your kids.
Yeah, thank you for letting me do that for them.
The life that you're building.
That'll be special for them too.
Yes,
so thank
congratulations.
you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man, everybody, if there's any part of Susan's story that you think will help somebody, resonate with somebody, connect with somebody, please share it with them. Please give them the opportunity to really be inspired and be helped by Susan's story. So as all of you know, there's so much more to life than money. Please come back and join us again next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the More to Life Than Money podcast with your host, J.W. Rayhans, financial advisor, jw@rayhansfinancial.com. Guests are not affiliated with or registered with Cetera Wealth Services, LLC. Any information provided by guests is in no way related to Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, or its registered representatives, unless otherwise noted as a representative of Cetera Wealth Services, LLC. The opinions contained in this material are those of the author and not a recommendation or solicitation to buy or sell investment products. This information is from sources believed to be reliable, but Cetera Wealth Services, LLC cannot guarantee or represent that it is accurate or complete. Securities offered through Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, doing insurance business in California as CFGAN Insurance Agency, LLC, California Insurance License Number 0644976, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cetera Investment Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. California Insurance License Number 0M15552. The views depicted in this material are for informational purposes only and are not necessarily those of Cetera Wealth Services, LLC. They should not be considered specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Neither Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, nor any of its representatives may give legal or tax advice. 313 North Gilbert Road, Suite 200, Gilbert, Arizona 85234.